So, hello. Um, I have two videos that I recorded within the past 2 days, 1 day, 3 days. I'm not sure. Um, so, the first video kind of explained what I've been reading. So, I'm not sure if that video will go up first than this one or whatever. But yes, um, I do apologize again that I had a medical emergency, so my speech is a little bit off a little bit. So if I close my eyes, it's not because I'm sleeping, it's because I'm trying to visualize what I want to say to make sure that what I need to say um, does not affect. I do apologize. I'm recording off of my phone. I mean, not my phone, my laptop, because my phone's acting crazy with the videos, and then my camera somehow is not working. I do not know why, but I'm here. And yes, so I'm actually making this video about the book that I finished actually this morning. And if you can tell by the multiple tabs, I was not going to like mark up anything or annotate or make any notes in this book because I figured it's just a fiction, whatever. But I noticed usually when I start reading and maybe like 10, 20 pages in, if I'm really feeling the book, I end up going back and rereading it and making notes. And I think this book took me like, I think the first page hooked me with the quote, "Medicine has taught me, really taught me to accept the things I cannot change. A difficult to swallow serenity prayer." And the book is called Take My Hand by Dolen Perkins-Valdez. This book is based on the main character, Sybil Townsend. She is a nurse in Montgomery, Alabama. And it takes her, it's a dual timeline where it's in 1973, as she is a 23-year-old nurse, as well as, you can, I guess, I'm not sure if you would consider present, but in 2016 when she is an adult woman, a grown woman, and she's no longer a nurse but actually a OBGYN doctor. And so she, back in 1973, worked in a family planning clinic. And the clinic was run by a white lady. And she decided to work for that clinic. She got the job. And the clinic provided all sorts of medical provided medical medication and medical I'm trying to find the word for this, medical services to the community, which then in turn serviced the poor black women in that town. So each of them have a caseload, and one of the patients that Sybil ends up getting are two sisters, India and Erica. And what she finds out is that they're not adult grown women, but they're children. They're young. And she was administering, or the children were, before she even started working, were receiving birth control shots. And Sybil then in turn finds out that these young girls were receiving these shots, being that they're minor, and also finds out that they're not sexually active. There's no reason for them to receive these shots. And it goes through that, and she has her own struggles with this because she found herself pregnant near the end of her medical, like nurse school, and she found herself pregnant, and she did not want to keep the child, and in turn had an abortion. And at that time, that was prior to Roe versus Wade, where abortion was legal and um, done in a safe environment, where she was going to someone's house, paid them cash money, got the abortion. And she does talk about her experience in having an abortion. So she goes through that, and she also finds out that something has happened. I mean, it goes over the span of, trying to stop the girls from receiving the Depo shot, because she learned, one, that the Depo shot at that time was not FDA approved, as well as there were some clinical studies done on that drug, and in turn, there was cancer that the study shown was happening from the shot. So because of those reasons, she stopped giving the girls the shot. I'm sorry if this is a spoiler, but I mean, yes. And so something happens to the girls, and she decides to fight back against medical discrimination. And I must say, this book, my memory has been a bit crazy. So sometimes I remember what I read, sometimes I don't. But as I look back in my reading journal, as well as Goodreads, this book probably is my favorite so far this year. I gave this book a 5 stars. I was so invested in this story that I wanted to know how it ended. I wanted to know what happened to the girls. I wanted to know what happened to Sybil. I wanted to know if she decided to get married, because at the time in the story, she was opposed to getting married, having children, having a family, because she was a woman of her career. Like, she wanted to be a nurse. She wanted to, really live her life for her career. And she does say in the story near the end that she was that doctor and probably that nurse that, took over people's days off, came in, stayed late, was there early. So she was a career woman, and she wanted to keep it that way. So I was invested in knowing more about Sybil and the family that she was taking care of with the girls. And I must say that I did annotate this book. I did pink for quotes I loved, and blue for either medical or racism or discrimination in the medical field or in medicine. And this book is so profound. If you want to know why maybe some black people were hesitant about the shot, I can't say it because I don't want to get my video removed or anything, or hesitant even going to the doctor, this book tells you, because at that time, like, this was in 1973 Alabama, you had the Tuskegee study that was done, and that was referenced in this book several times, but also the mistrust and abuse in the medical field, and how white people will come out and be that white savior and try to save, but in turn they didn't have the best interests of the black people. So there was a mistrust in doctors, lawyers, nurses, government people, the welfare system. I mean, you see the abuse and the discrimination, and you can see why people, especially black people, are very hesitant when it comes to going to the doctor or going to the police or going to any type of government setting, because you can see there, I mean, in the story you saw unfair, there was unfairness with trials, and there was unfairness with the nurse. And Sybil thought that the lady who ran this practice, she was a white woman, like I said, and Sybil thought that this woman had people's interests at heart. And here in turn, it wasn't. And this made me, and I'm not sure if this is going to get flagged or whatever, but this made me think of what's going on with the overturn of the Roe versus Wade. And I'm going to put my disclaimer. I am a mom. I was a teen mom. I am a Christian. I have daughters, and I have nieces, I have sisters, I have cousins, so, and I am a teacher. So I can vouch for this, but it made me think of how abortion clinics are often put in low income areas where there's the marginalized, the poor, Black or Latino, minority people who live there and are pushed to, not pushed, but encouraged to get rid of their child due to their circumstances. And in this story, you see that with the clinic providing birth control. You see the clinic providing sterilization services. You see the clinic providing those things, but not conversation or not information. And the people that they were servicing were people who couldn't read, people who were poor, people who found themselves in situations that I would not want to be in. And rather than want to help the people to better themselves, they figured, well, let's not allow this mom who already has 6 children have another child because she can't afford it. Or let's have this girl who may be sexually active, but she's poor, her family's poor. Let's not even have her even bring a child into this world. Regardless if the medication is safe, regardless of anything, it's going to prevent her from getting pregnant. And that hurt me because I remember when I was 18 years old and I was pregnant and I found myself pregnant. Abortion never crossed my mind because I felt, there we go. I had to pause it because my son came down. But I never felt the need to get rid of my child, despite me not being married, despite me still being in high school or anything. And, you know, it hurt me to see that the generations were stopped, are going to be stopped. If a woman does not have a child, then she doesn't have a boy. The family stops because the family name cannot be carried. And there was a quote in here where it talked about that the sterilization, it said that we found that sterilization is the rule, not the exception. It is widely endemic in this country. It is a form of reproductive control. And I'm like, that's what it is. It has nothing to do with, you know, it's my body, it's my choice. It's this. Yes, I understand that, but it's also about stopping the generations to continue for your family's sake. And back in the day, people wanted boys to continue their family name. And to see that the choices in this book not even allowing the women to have a say-so was like, it was hard. This is rough. This really takes what's going on in society and brings it back to, like, it really like hit home for me because I thought about my own mom or my own aunts or my grandma. They grew up in the South, and imagine they were sterilized. I wouldn't be here. Or after so many children, they were like, oh, you can't have kids. Like, what? And even though this is a fictional story, the information actually came from an actual real life case, back in 1973, Ralph versus Weinberger. And I'm really going to research this. And this book actually made me think of this one. I read this years ago, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And just the unfair discrimination of black people in the medical field is out. Like, I have no words. No words. How women are, black women are treated. Just no words. And if you are a person who wants to, if you're a person who wants to see change, especially in the black community, you need to fight for black women's rights, for quality medicine. And I say this in being that I understand that everyone has a choice on what they do with their bodies and their life, but I understand that the abortion clinics not only do abortions, but they also provide medical services such as birth control, pelvic exams, cancer screenings. But in a clinic, like, why can't we have the same, even if you're not black, why can't the marginalized, the poor, the ones who don't have insurance, why can they not have the same medical treatment as a person with money or good insurance? Like, that's what bothers me. It's not about the abortion, really, which I am a pro-life person. I believe that at conception, there is a child. But in turn, I want the same type of medical treatment, cancer screenings, not to go to a clinic, but to an actual medical office with a team of doctors and a team of nurses, where they are safe, they are able to have conversations about their health, they're able to have all options on the table, they're able to have all of those services. And it breaks my heart that it's still an issue. There also gave statistics about the black mortality rate in women during childbirth. Like, oh my gosh, if you can tell from this, I am passionate about it. I am not a medical expert. I am not a nurse. I don't even work in the medical field. I'm a teacher. But it's just the sheer blatant, it's in your face racism that nobody sees. Or if they do see, people are quiet. And you see that in this book, where the nurses in the clinic, the black nurses in the clinic, were given depot shots, knowing that, that it wasn't FDA approved. This lady, Civil, was telling them it was not FDA approved. There could be cancer risk. And they still gave it to them anyway, because they were fearful for losing their jobs, because they, at that time, you needed money. You had to shut up and do your job, knowing that it was wrong. But the nurses kept doing that. The nurses kept, even though that they knew that they were sterilizing women without not to say they got their consent, but without the women knowing that it was being done. They still did it anyway, just because they wanted to keep their job. And that brings me to this, and I know that I'm soon going to close this book review, but it just made me think, if you see something wrong, sometimes it's better to be morally right than to sit back and watch. And this applies to everything in life. So this is my review of Take My Hand. I hope that it wasn't a ramble, but I had to get my first my feelings first, because if I sit there and mull over it, then I'd be like, okay. But no, I wanted to have my true feelings for this book. This book was amazing. I'm not sure if she wrote anything else, but if she does, I will look for more of this lady's writing. Her writing was amazing. Her storytelling was amazing. Her character development was amazing. Um, Her research of true events was great. She took, I can tell that she took her time in actually writing this and making sure that, one, she was being true to um, fact, not really fact, because I know this is a fictional story, but true to what is really going on, and not afraid to write it and share it with others. So I did get this from Book of the Month, um, which I love. Um, I love to subscribe, and I am so thankful that Book of the Month picked this, had this as one of their picks. I'm telling you, this book was amazing. So if you love a good historical fiction, if you love a book based on um, history, especially Black history, if you are not afraid to um, be challenged, um, read this book. So I hope you enjoyed it. And yes, if you read this book or if you are excited to read it, comment below. So I hope you have a good day. And yes, if you have any time during your day, I hope you pick up a book and read. God bless. Have a good one.